Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about The Village. The Village is a Japanese dramatic thriller that tells the story of Yu, a man who lives a meager existence as a garbage facility worker in the rural village of Kamimura. He curses his life on a daily existence while being unable to leave the village due to several reasons when he's surprised by an arrival in town in the form of his childhood friend, Misaki. The more time the two spend with each other, the more confident Yu becomes in himself and his abilities to do more with his life. As he makes steps in bettering his life, however, he continues to battle stigma and bullying from others, and he wonders if he will ever truly outrun his past. I was surprised to see this movie getting mixed reviews because I thought it was a great thriller. It does have some issues with its narrative, but its interesting protagonist, tense atmosphere, and tackling of numerous social themes make for an ambitious and memorable experience. Yu is an interesting character with many layers to him. He feels isolated and lost in life and unsure of how to escape his circumstances. The frustration he experiences over several factors in his life that are beyond his control is communicated well, to the point where I related to him on multiple fronts. I completely understood where he was coming from as far as being isolated in a rural village, being stuck with parents, and not having an easy way out. Yu is hopeless, but continues clinging onto whatever vague sense of duty he can grasp, so it's easy to sympathize with him, especially as he starts to blossom more as a character. This starts to happen as he spends more time with his friend Misaki. She's the only person in Yu's life who sees the potential in him, and thus he naturally gravitates toward her, which makes sense in the context of the movie's events. He's a lost soul who has been found, and she helps him realize that he is loved and he can achieve anything he truly wants, which is inspiring to see. The relationship is kind of bland at the beginning, but it makes sense because of the long gap in time between them since they last saw each other, so it's natural that there'd be some sort of awkwardness in the beginning with those two. The movie also makes occasional use of flashbacks to highlight the bond they shared with each other in the past, so Misaki's influence still has some weight behind it. The only thing I didn't like about the two is the romantic angle the movie takes with them. There's an amazing scene in the movie that represents a turning point in Yu's life, and all of a sudden, they cheapen it with the two kissing each other. There's nothing that really hints at anything potentially romantic between the two prior to this, and the rest of the story never expands on their romance afterward, so it just felt like an unnecessary add-on. Nevertheless, Misaki succeeds in inspiring Yu to better his life. He starts chasing after more opportunities at work, takes care of his physical appearance, and carries himself with an air of confidence not seen before. His transformation is a joy to see, because it follows after having seen all the bad things he has to endure. Between his mother having a gambling addiction, being stigmatized for being the son of a criminal father, and in general being seen as a loser, it's easy to see why Yu is so miserable. So when he finally breaks the chains, it's awesome. Just seeing him grab life by the horns after putting up with so much torture in his life makes for a fascinating watch. This being said, the movie doesn't immediately make his life easy. He still has to put up with problems getting in his way as he climbs the corporate ladder, and I appreciate what the filmmakers did in this regard. The stigma of his father's crimes and jealousy brewing at his workplace are just some of the things that weigh down on him. Even after all he's been through and the work he does to try and improve the reputation of his community, Yu still can't escape his past, and this adds a layer of humanity to his character that makes him even more relatable. Now, while it's nice that the movie shows Yu continuing to experience problems even as he improves, it still feels like his redemption is a bit too fast. His boss gives him work opportunities immediately, fellow coworkers are quick to celebrate him turning a new leaf, save for one, and it all just feels a bit too convenient. And while I like seeing how multiple things affect Yu and make him feel worthless, most of them have an uneven amount of focus. I thought the movie would have honed in more on the fact that his mother owes a large amount of money, or that they would explore more into his father's crimes, and the movie just never takes advantage of these elements. The pacing can be a big problem in this regard. Sometimes it's too fast, as it is with Yu's redemption, while other times it drags on and layers scenes with unnecessary amounts of exposition. The movie focuses on so many different subplots related to Yu that it becomes more difficult to appreciate the story as a whole. However, this same problem can also be its greatest strength, and oftentimes is more so. The entire movie has this quiet, unnerving atmosphere that is characteristic of being a rural village. It just has this eerie presence throughout that feels off, in a good way of course. The lack of music and the beautiful cinematography contrast well with each other. The village is excellently portrayed with how it lulls the audience into a false sense of security, only for a subtle darkness to start layering its events. The movie is masterful with how it conveys slow burn tension to draw more attention to its story. The no plays are some of the best parts of the entire movie, because they communicate all the story the audience needs to know. They use no dialogue, apart from the singing portions which aren't subtitled anyway, so it forces the audience to pay attention to the story from a visual point of view. These scenes and other parts of the movie show how characters wear masks both figuratively and literally to hide who they are, or to portray a different self. It sounds self-defeating, but that's the point, because every character apart from Misaki tries to be someone else, yet their own true self comes back to haunt them. And I love how the movie applies this to Yu and how he fights to change his life, sometimes to no avail. It shows how powerful the impact that both stigma and kindness can have on others, and more importantly, sometimes one is more powerful than the other. The movie covers various other social themes too, like the environment, poverty, and toxic work culture. Sometimes it feels like the movie bites off more than it can chew, and it doesn't always tie in well with Yu's story, but in general they complement the story well. The movie does start to lose its way a bit with how its final act proceeds, though it still had an impact on me. It made me think of my own connection to being raised in a small town and my needs to improve it and escape it, and any movie that helps me connect to it on a personal level is doing something right. Overall, The Village is a compelling dramatic thriller that succeeds in telling a multi-layered story in an interesting way. If you like slow burn dramas that have a rise and fall aspect to them, you'd enjoy checking this out. Some of the narrative inconsistencies and lack of focus can be distracting, but as a whole it still works. Yu's characterization, the tension surrounding his story, and the themes come together almost like a village in and of itself, one that's much more welcoming in comparison, if yet equally foreboding. What did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy how suspenseful it was, or did you find it boring instead? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of The Village. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Spanish romantic drama Through My Window Across the Sea. Bye bye!